Do you know who that is? No? Yeah, but I'm sure you know who's that. And that's because Sponge's design is just genius. Hello, hello. So, what the hell am I even talking about? Another episode of making anime on your own and I'm talking about Spongebob? Yes, I am, and that's because today we're going to think a bit about drawing, the most basic of skills you'll need in order to get an arts degree and do base level entry jobs for the rest of your life. I mean to do self-made animation and make your dreams come true. Spongebob does two things very well when it comes to drawing, but we have to leave those for later. First, let's distinguish between two topics when it comes to drawing. One, you can talk about technique and how to draw, but there are thousands of videos online that are doing that better than I ever could. So I'm just going to say one thing. Don't be afraid to use a reference here and there, especially if you're new to drawing. Too many people start drawing and think that they have to do it all from imagination, like they have Sheldon Cooper's photographic memory. You don't, and you don't have to. I made the same mistake doing that for a long time and all it did was stunt me. In that time I never got the chance to gather new forms and images into my mental visual library, which means I couldn't get better at drawing and I was always stressed out because the pictures didn't look the way I wanted them to. So I didn't draw as much because of it. I mean, just imagine the stress of drawing, let's say, a giraffe from memory. You know what? Let me just do that quick. Okay, so I don't really know what I got myself into this time, but let's just start this thing. If you feel like you have to do everything from imagination, this is the result of that process. You might think twice about that, but that's all I gotta say for now. The second thing, you can focus on what you draw and what you want to express, and this is the much more interesting topic for animators. Here we have to talk about stylistic choices, things that will make your anime stand out and be memorable. So, what are those things? Well, the most important thing is shapes. What shapes, I hear you say? Everybody, except Americans, knows that if you want to draw a football, you make a circle. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the human form getting distorted. We already had that in the fight scene video, where the impact of punches were overstated, even to the point of breaking the rules of physical reality to show how hard those punches were. But those were momentary things. In general, Japanese anime stay pretty true to the actual human form, with some notable exceptions. While this more realistic style has its advantages, it also has its downsides. Everybody knows that anime characters are mostly different in their hairstyles only. The faces are pretty much the same. And I've seen anime where even the body shape and clothing are also very similar. We humans have amazing abilities when it comes to facial recognition, but when I tried to watch that with my parents, it wasn't easy for them. But even for the real anime lovers that don't have that problem, could you draw an anime character from memory and have other people recognize him? And what about 2 years after you've seen the anime? How hard does it get then? This is where Spongebob comes into play. Draw a wavy rectangle and everybody knows exactly what you're doing. Draw a pink star and it's the same thing. Spongebob characters are extremely recognizable, and even if you've only seen the show once, you won't have a hard time remembering that there was a yellow sponge that was living in an ananas underwater, and you'll be able to tell your friends. This surely helped the series to gather viewers, and it's one of the secrets of the huge success that it is. So if you want to make your characters more recognizable, use shapes in creative and unique ways, and experiment a bit. There are endless possibilities. We already know about the use of the rectangle and the star, but we also have Mr. Krabs, which is a combination of an oval and a triangle. Having one form is actually very rare. Combinations are much more common. Let's go back to our beautiful, but sometimes boring looking anime characters. Are they made out of simple shapes? Absolutely. Look at this. This is a book that influenced me very much when I was younger. Maybe I'll even make a separate video just about it. It's basically a manual on how to draw everything Dragon Ball, from the characters to the architecture, and in one chapter we can see that the characters first start as simple shapes that are combined to create the full form in a given posture. You work with those shapes kind of like you would work with a claymation figure. You get every part in the right position and then you put in the details. Once you're more experienced, you can get away with jumping over the shaping phase, but it still remains the core of your characters. Okay, so we spent quite a bit of time on shapes, which are important, but is there another way that can help you make a bigger impact with your anime? One more thing comes to mind, which are exaggerated features. This is when you draw the facial features and the hands bigger than they should be proportionally. You do that because those are the things with which we humans communicate the most. Maybe that's also the reason why phones get bigger every year. That's a big brain thought. By making those features bigger, the viewer can see the emotions of your characters easier and empathize with them. That would be your best outcome. If your viewers empathize with the struggles of your characters, you hook them. Next step, get rich of merchandise and live on the Bahamas. Exaggerated Features can be seen all the way back in 1923, when Disney made their first animated film called Alice's Wonderland, and you can see it nowadays with the huge eyes that anime characters have. But sometimes that's just not enough. For moments of extreme emotions like anger bursts, you can make the features comically large. But don't worry that it looks strange. If your voice actor shouts "Barker" loud enough, everything's okay. But joking aside, I know that it can be very scary to use this technique because you don't know if it will off-put your audience. And you certainly don't have to use it. But if you find the right moment for it, don't limit yourself because of some vague norms that you think you should uphold. All those little things that you don't do, even though you want to, in the end transform what should have been your animation into just another animation. And with that said, see you next time when we again get great together.